All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. You are watching FM9 Basics. This is a video series that I'm putting together to help users program their Fractal Audio Systems FM9. This video series can, of course, be used in conjunction with my previous video series, FM3 Basics, as well as Axfx 3 Basics. Check out the rest of the tutorials on this YouTube channel, or you can check out fm9basics.com, fm3basics.com, and axfxbasics.com. So a little about myself. Once again, my name is Rosh, and I'm a guitar player and guitar tech out here in the Los Angeles area. I build and program a lot of guitar rigs for a lot of different clients. Some of my clients include Steve Vai, Leppard, Etheridge, Perfect Circle, Bush, and more. So I wanted to give back to the Fractal community and show some of my tips and tricks on how to program all their Fractal Audio Systems units. This video series, of course, focusing on the FM9. So I wanted to do a little bit of a deep dive into how I organize and when I'm building sounds for myself as well as clients. So this video is going to be focusing on the scene manager. This is a very, very important tool that I would recommend every user get familiar with when they're building their presets. So if you want to access the scene manager, it's right here in FM9 Edit. And what this allows you to do is you can pick 4 different effects, and then you can check out what channels are being used on each scene in here. So I'm going to build a preset from scratch. We're going to kind of go through a real world use case of how to use the scene manager. And this allows you to kind of dial in different sounds using different scenes and everything. So our goal in this preset is, let's say I want to build a clean sound, a crunch sound, a rhythm sound, and then a lead sound. So as if you've watched my other video series, you can tell I generally kind of build sounds in this way. If I'm going to build like a all-in-one kind of preset I can use for, let's say I'm playing a cover gig or wedding gig or something, I can, with these 4 types of sounds, I can generally get through most of the songs and then turn on effects on and off as needed. The other reason why I use 4 different sounds is it will correspond to 4 different amp channels in the amp block. If you're planning on using one amp block. Okay, so let's just say hypothetically this is kind of the sounds that we want to build. So I'll save that, and then we'll just call this scene manager. And then I'm going to build kind of an all-in-one preset from scratch. Now I'm going to go through this relatively quickly. Again, I have other tutorials on this YouTube channel of doing deep dive of different amp sounds, like how to build a clean sound, a lead sound, a rhythm sound, etc. I would definitely recommend checking those out. So let's do an input block, an output block, and then we're going to do an amp and a cab. I'm probably going to want a reverb, and then some type of drive pedal, let's say maybe some type of delay, and let's say maybe phaser, and then maybe a compressor. Okay, so let's just say these are hypothetically the different types of effects that you would want to use. So you would have 4 scenes, and then you would, be able to turn on and off these effects with the remaining buttons. Okay, so if you can tell, that basically adds up to 9. 4 scenes, 5 effects, 4 plus 5 equals 9. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that, let's say, all these effects, as you notice, they're all engaged right now. So this is going to be a huge mess if I start playing. So the first thing you can do, of course, is in these drop-down menus, you can select whatever effect you want, and then the amp and the cab as well. So we can go to the compressor, and then let's say we only want the compressor on in our clean scene. So the first thing you can do is bypass the compressor in the other scenes. Let's say this drive pedal, we want it off in all 4 of the scenes, and then we want to be able to turn this on and off at will. Now, as you can see in this column, you can see that the drive is also changing channels. So one really useful feature is that every single scene in this preset can have a different type of drive because we have 4 channels in the drive block. So let's say the clean scene has some type of drive that's going to be assigned into channel A, and then the crunch scene is going to have some type of drive assigned into channel B. We can do channel C for the rhythm, and then channel D for the lead. So as you can see, I'm setting this up so that once I start actually dialing in the tones, I'm going to have different channels on every block. so that each scene is going to be almost like a completely independent sound, a completely independent signal path, because I'm using different channels of each of the effects blocks. Okay, so same thing with, let's say, the delay right here. So of course, let's say, again, this is our, like, some people call it kitchen sink preset or all-in-one preset. For now, I want the delays to be off in every scene. But let's say the clean and the crunch are going to share some type of delay. Maybe I want like kind of like a slapback style delay, and then maybe the rhythm, you know, might use some type of different delay sound, and then maybe the lead sound is going to use some type of delay sound that I would only use on the lead sound. So again, you see I'm setting up the channels here. So I have different types of delay sounds in each scene. And then, last but not least, let's say the phaser, you know, we want that off in every preset, but, you know, maybe the phaser is going to be the same. So we can keep each channel the same for every scene. Last but not least, most of the time, I use the same reverb sound on every single scene. And I usually generally keep the reverb on. I'm not the type that's going to be turning reverbs on and off. And in the FM9, you can actually add a second reverb block here. You know, you can either add it in series or parallel. And then maybe this is more of like a reverb sound that, you know, has, you know, you can use one of these, you know, super long reverbs or some kind of special reverb sound that you would turn on and off. But like a general all-purpose reverb, I'm going to usually keep on. But again, you can select the reverb in the scene manager, and then you can adjust each channel. Maybe your lead sound, you want a heavier reverb. Maybe in your clean sound, you want like a lighter reverb. Or if this was a preset that you were building for a song, perhaps maybe, you know, the first scene is the verse, the second scene is the chorus, the third scene is the bridge, and the fourth scene is the outro. You can, of course, assign different reverb channels on each of those sections of the song. Okay, so what we're going to do is, of course, we're going to save it. Now, again, this saves you a lot of time in the long run. So you'll notice that, for example, I'm going to select the drive block right here, and we went A, B, C, and D in each of the scenes. So, for example, right now, you can see that in the clean scene, my drive block is in channel A, and then in the crunch scene, my drive block is channel B. In my rhythm scene, my drive block is channel C, and in my lead scene, my drive block is channel D. Now, you'll notice that, of course, it stayed the same type. We haven't dialed in the sounds, but again, what we did with the scene manager was set everything up so that we can just go through each scene and just tweak and change the sounds as possible. The last thing that I usually do, of course, when I'm building a new preset from scratch is, of course, I go into the amp block and the cabinet block as well. And I also set up individual channels on each of them. So for example, in scene 1, I'm going to want amp A and cabinet A, which is already here. So I'm going to have some type of clean sound that's built off of a cabinet and an amplifier using channel A. Our crunch sound is going to be different, so I'm going to use channel B for both the cab and the amp block. And then for the rhythm, I'm going to use channel C. And then for the lead, I'm going to use channel D. Now, if you're modifying your sounds between clean and crunch using overdrive pedals, of course, you can keep the amp and cab block the same. But again, this is just like one use case, one that I do a lot, where I'm always using, you know, the 4 channels of the amp and the cab block and dialing in a different sound for each. Okay, so again, if we go through this, I'm going to hit save here. If we go into the amp block, on the clean scene, it's going to have a deluxe reverb. On the crunch scene, it's going to have a this Matchbox D30, which is a matchless, and you can see that it's changing channels for each one. I have the Brit Silver for channel C on the rhythm sound, and then I have the Captain Hook for channel D of the lead sound. Now, these are just defaults. These are just the amp block that I was building from a previous preset. You can, as you go through each scene, each channel might end up being the same amp type or whatever. Doesn't really matter, because now what we can do is we can dial in the sound, okay? So you'll notice the same thing happens for the cabinet. So in the clean scene, I have channel A on the cabinet. In the crunch scene, I have channel B for the cabinet. And you can see it's still using the same factory cabinet. In channel 3, I have this cabinet. And again, it's channel C. And then scene number 4, the lead sound, has another cabinet. But again, each of these cabinets are independent of each other. If you make a modification to one, it does not affect the other scenes. This is a very useful time-saving device. A lot of clients of mine, a lot of users, they're always going, well, every time I'm on the crunch scene and I want to change my sound, it starts changing the sound of my other scenes. So you have to make each scene use an independent channel. Okay, so let's style in the sound. So I'm going to turn off this compressor for a second. Let's say, for our clean sound, I want like something super crystal clear. I know that if you've been watching some of my other videos, I always use the deluxe reverb. Let's just kind of, change that. So we can go, let's see. We can use maybe the USA Clean. Okay, so this is based off of the Mesa Boogie Mark series Clean. I think it's the Mark IV, if I'm not mistaken. And then what I'm going to do is, I'm going to kind of scoop the mids out. I'm going to keep the bass and treble high. And for the Mark series, you always want to use the graphic EQ as the finishing touch for your clean sound. Now, because this is a Mesa Boogie Mark series, I like to always match the cabinet with the amp. So again, because they call this amp USA Clean right here, I'm going to first go to the picker, type in USA, and then let's see if any of these cabinets pop up. So these are all these like USA style cabinets. So let's see. Yeah, why don't we use like a 212? Okay, so we'll use this 57 right here as the cabinet. Let's just start there, and then we can add some finishing touches. I'm going to go to the preamp. I'm going to go to 80 hertz, and then I'm going to bring this down to 10,000 right there. And again, some people ask, can I use the low cut and high cut here? Of course you can. It really depends on the slope. If you can also, adjust the slope and the cuts on individual cabinets, or you can do it all here for a combined thing. And then you can, of course, adjust the slope to match the same way as the cabinet. So I'm going to do that right here, 12 dB octave on both. Okay, so let's just dial this in. I'm going for like a funky clean, super Nile Rodgers, Prince kind of style clean. Okay, so let's get, whoops, we don't want to do that there. Okay, and I'm going to use the output EQ. I'm going to give it the Mesa V. And what I'm shooting for is kind of like that 0 dB right there. It's okay if it goes into the red. This is not a clip light. This is just kind of like a ballpark kind of figure of where you want to level out your preset. Cut back the bass a little bit. There we go. Okay, awesome. And then now I'm going to turn on the compressor. I go into some other, tutorials about the compressor, but basically I'm just looking for something that's just going to keep the, the tone kind of uniform. And it's going to sound good when I'm picking, arpeggios, or if I'm playing like a funky clean thing. So I'm going to use this pedal compressor. Let's bring the compression down a little bit. And let's turn that on. Great. And what I'm listening for is I want to make sure that the compressor, when it's turned on versus when it's turned off, is about the same volume. Okay, I'm going to turn the compression up a little bit. I'm going to give it just a little bit of level. And what I'm listening for with this compressor on is that if I play, clean arpeggios, those notes just sustain a little bit more, especially since I'm using single coils. Because if I turn it off, you hear how like wimpy those notes are. This just makes it a little bit more bold, a little bit, sustains those notes a little bit longer. So you can hear the chord just holds on a little bit more. And then of course, if I'm digging in, playing some kind of like, rhythm guitar stuff, you can still hear a little bit of the attack coming through if I'm playing something funky, because the attack time is not all the way down. It lets a little bit of the transient through, but then it holds on to the note. Okay, so I think that's a pretty good clean sound. Again, for my goal, some users might be like, oh, I want a clean sound that's more like Steve Vai or something like that, and that's totally cool. So, all right, let's go to scene number 2. So again, we did all the heavy lifting in the scene manager. We already got the crunch to be channel B, the amp to be channel B, the cabinet to be channel B, and then of course, I'm going to put the drive right here, and you can see that it uses a completely different drive block, right? So, and that also reminds me, in the clean sound, we have this drive block. So let's say hypothetically we wanted to turn on the overdrive. Between these two scenes, they're using 2 different channels on the drive block. So, for example, maybe, if I turn on the drive, I want some kind of like, Tube Screamer-esque kind of drive. So I'll use this T808 mod. I'm going to maybe start here, a light kind of overdrive. Maybe add the level. Kind of wimpy. I think maybe, why don't we use this super overdrive? Maybe this one right here. Okay, and we'll probably bring the level down. And let's bring that level down just a hair. Okay, cool. So again, very light overdrive. I'm trying to look for maybe a smooth thing, because again, I have the other scenes if I need more gain. So this is definitely something more like, just like a, light overdrive pedal if I need to turn it on at any point. Okay, so we'll save that. Now we got our clean scene dialed in. And again, if I go to the crunch scene, I have a completely different overdrive and completely different amp and completely different cabinet. So again, I'm sure if you've been watching some of my other videos, you're probably sick of me using the Matchbox. This is kind of an AC30 clone. Again, it works really great for crunch stuff, but let's just, for the sake of showing that there are other amps in here that also sound great, let's do something different. So maybe some type of Fender-ish broken up clean thing. I did mention Steve Vai. So maybe that's kind of more of what, we're going to go for this crunch sound. So the Texas Star is great for that. This is the Mesa Boogie Lone Star. I guess we're building a Mesa Boogie-esque kind of preset. So this is a really great amp used by Andy Timmons, used by a lot of people. And again, it works really great for kind of like, kind of like a Fender-ish kind of sound that's more broken up and stuff. But the Texas Star Clean is also based off the clean channel in the Lone Star, which is a really great clean channel. Okay, so we have the Texas Star lead. It's got 2 different types of overdrives. And then if you look at the real amp, the amp also has 2 drive knobs as well. So the first thing we're going to do is let's get our tone together. Oh, and of course we want to change the cabinet. So I'm going to type in TX, just like the amp, Texas Star, the TX right here. So when I type in TX, it's going to bring up the Lone Star matching cabinets. Again, you can always use other cabinets. That is totally fine. I just like to start with a matching cabinet. So let's use this one. We're going to go in the preamp, bring this up, bring this down. And again, the reason why I bring the high cut down is you don't need all this information up there. You can keep going if if it's too bright. For the clean sound, I wanted some sparkle in there, so we'll go up here. But at 10,000 hertz, I mean, that's like you can hear the pick attack. It's going to fight the cymbals if you're playing live. So you're always more than welcome to bring this stuff down. And also bring the high and the low cut down a little bit, make a more aggressive slope. All right, so let's get kind of like a maybe a bluesy, crunchy kind of sound. Okay, and we're gonna need to bring that level up. Okay, we're going to cut the bass. Okay, cool. Not 100% feeling this cabinet, so I'm going to hit the little push pin right here and just kind of audition some of these other Lone Star cabinets. Okay, I like that 906 a little bit better. This is a Sennheiser kind of mic. Okay, and then we could probably blend it in with that 57 as well, just to give it a little bit more mid-range. Yeah, I like that. So right here I'm using the Sennheiser, is it the Sennheiser? I can't quite remember, but, and then there's the 57, and I'm kind of doing a mix of both. Okay, and then again, we could probably come up just a hair. It's a little boomy in the low end. Awesome. All right. So we got a crunchy, kind of bluesy sound. And it's different than, of course, our clean sound, which is more of like a... Okay, so this would be, you know, kind of like great for just crunchy things. And again, because we've set up different channels in the drive, if I need to, you know, hit it a little harder with another drive pedal, again, we have a lot of varieties of tone. So probably want to use maybe some kind of clean boost into this. So I'm going to use this RCB right here. And then let's turn that on. Let's just check this out. Cool. So it gets a little woofy in the low end. We're going to pull that bass down. We're going to pull the treble up a little, or the level up. All right. I'm going to pull that level back down. So you might not be able to hear it, but it's getting a little, it kind of like the input stage of this amp is starting to fall apart when we hit the level too hard. I'm trying to look for, you know, where it still remains tight in the low end without it, you know, totally falling apart. So like if you crank the level to 10, you'll hear it right away. So that's just a little too much. We'll probably put it right around here. Yeah, that's great. And again, because I know I have other scenes that I'm going to be adding more gain to, I don't need to, you know, go over the top with this one. Of course, every user is going to be different. Maybe you want something that's going to be super over the top, but between the clean, the overdrive pedal on the clean sound, and then this crunch sound plus this overdrive pedal, I have already like 4 different varieties of gain. All right, so moving on to number 3. And again, because we set this all up in the scene manager, you notice I'm just flying through this. I'm just setting up my tones. Usually for a rhythm sound, I usually like something Marshall-esque or, you know, kind of British flavored, but so defaulted to this Brit Silver, but, you know, let's, you know, maybe keep the Mesa Boogie theme going. Let's use USA. So for rhythm sound, you know, the Petrucci stuff's great. This is the JP2C Plus. Based off of John Petrucci's, you know, signature Mesa Boogie amp. This is a great amp for, you know, high gain stuff. And again, we want to change the cabinet. So let's go with USA. And we'll do this USA traditional. Yeah, that's probably pretty good. Let's go to the preamp. Let's go down again. And again, if I am kind of flying through this, I have a tutorial video again, how to dial in the Mark series amps as well. So by all means, check that out. And again, I'm going for kind of like a rock rhythm sound here. So I usually want to cut the bass in the mid, crank the treble. And then of course we want to use the output EQ and add the finishing touch. Usually use the Mesa V. All right, so there's a lot of low end in this. So we're gonna pull that even higher. Oops, not that high. Maybe make the slope a little more aggressive down there. We can add a little bit of it back. What I'm listening for is this kind of woo, kind of like low woofy thing that's happening down there. And that will get in the way a lot if you aren't too careful. And also if you're running a full range cabinet, that's one of the things that I hear a lot where there's this boominess in the low end. And a lot of users are always asking, hey, how do I dial that out? It's definitely in the cab log. Do not be afraid to be aggressive with this low cut as well as the slope. Feel free to pull that up, especially on rhythm tones if you're going to be playing a lot of palm muted stuff. And again, I'm looking for that point where the gain is high, but you know the tightness of the low end, if I palm mute, is still there. We're gonna add some more gain to that. Okay, cool. I feel like I want it to cut through a little bit more. It's a little scooped in the mids. I could probably bring this up just a hair. Or I'll use another cabinet, maybe the USA again, or maybe the Recto series. These are based off the rectifier. And I'll probably want to use something with a 57 or something, and then maybe, you know, see how it says bright right there, maybe just kind of brighten that up. So let's try this York Audio one. All right, so a little too bright, a little fizzy, but what we can do is we can pull the level down a lot, and then we can just slowly add it until we just get enough of that brightness to cut through. Maybe let's try, you know, one of these other rectos. Yeah, we'll start with that one, and I'm going to blend that in a little bit. Okay, and then let's bring the level of this amp up a little bit. A little bit more. Okay, and I will probably pull this down even more just so that pick attack doesn't get too abrasive, but you can still pull the level up and get a little bit more of that mid-range from this. Yeah, that's starting to come together. Great. So now we got kind of like a rock rhythm tone. And again, we have a different overdrive here. Maybe we'll just stick with this max off 808, just if in case we want to, you know, boost the front end of it. It's a little fizzy, so let's get rid of that. And we don't need that much drive. Okay, great. And last but not least, we have our lead sound. So again, because we set this all up in the scene manager, we have an independent lead sound for this scene. It's defaulting to the Captain Hook. Why don't we try? Well, you know, the Brit Silver was cool, so why don't we do that? Let's find a matching cabinet. Or we can do kind of like the Joe Bonamassa thing where he uses EVs. Usually the Cali, it uses EVs, Cali cab. So why don't we just at least start there? And preamp, again, we're gonna bring that up, bring that down, and maybe get a little more aggressive with this. And if you haven't used the Brit Silver, this is based off the Marshall Jubilee. It's kind of like a darker JCM 800 with more gain. Really great amp. I really like it. And then we want maybe... We want kind of EV. Let's use the rumble. Yeah, we'll use the rumble cab. So this has the EV12L right there. That's probably a little bit better. Let's see, so we got the rumble. Let's put the 57 in there, but we're definitely going to want to add another rumble cab, probably some type of ribbon mic in there, just because this is very mid-rangey, very nasally. And then let's do this. Cool, bring that down just a hair. Okay, and then of course we need some level. Let's bring that, oops, not the master. Let's bring the level up a little bit. And since this is going to be a lead sound, we're probably going to want a little bit more mids and a little bit more treble, but we're also probably going to want to just have an overdrive on. So I'm going to put a tube screamer on. Kick the front end, and again we're going to save the scene with the drive on. And since we again set up the delays here in the scene manager so that the lead sound has its own delay on channel C, I'm going to dial in a delay sound that I like. So again, we can use like the dual delay. I use this one a lot, really cool, and we want this scene to load up with the delay on. Okay, so I'm going to bring down the mix a little bit. Cool. I'm going to go into mute effects in here, just so that if I bypass the delay, you know, there's still, you know, trails. Okay, so. And let's pull that level down, drive down. All right, it's a little thin. We're just going to crank this. And again, when I'm dialing in tone, sometimes I just go to the extreme and then I pull it back. So I pull the bass all the way up because I want some warmth and depth to this tone. And then now that's probably too much. So then I'm going to dial this. So yeah, it's right there. And again, I don't dial in with my eyes. I just turn the knobs until they sound good. And of course, this scene can be a little bit louder because it's a lead sound. So I'm not afraid to, you know, go above the red there. That is not a clip light. So, all right, because of the scene manager, we have just dialed in, you know, a basic preset. We have a clean sound right here with the compressor on. When we turn on the crunch sound, maybe want a little more low end in that. And then now we have our rhythm sound. Pull this down a little bit. And then of course we have our lead sound. So right there, because of the scene manager, we set it all up. And of course we can see what effects are being used, what channel, so we can make sure that, hey, you know, with our drive, do we have independent drive blocks? We can tell if it's on or off. So for example, the drives are bypassed in scenes 1, 2, and 3, but it's on in scene 4 because that's our lead sound. We can make sure that the reverb's on in every scene, the delay's on in the lead sound, but it's bypassed everywhere else. And of course, each scene has its own delay channel. So this is, a kind of a not a precursor, but just kind of like, maybe a crash course into using the scene manager. But this feature I use all the time when I'm building presets. It's probably the most useful feature in FM9 Edit, in my humble opinion. Again, it just helps you keep track of what effects are on in what scene, what channel everything's on, and of course, allows you to bypass things as needed. So if you want maybe no reverb, except when you're in the lead sound, it's just as simple as turning those on and off. Okay. So that's going to be it for this tutorial. Again, this is just, one of many approaches to building a basic preset. Of course, these tones may not work for you. It just really depends on the music you're playing and what you're looking for. But this is a really quick way for me to dial in, an all-in-one kitchen sink kind of preset. And then now I have all my tones ready to go. I can just take the FM9 to the gig and I'm ready to rock. All right, so without further ado, thanks so much. I'll see you guys next time. And if you guys need any help, any one-on-one consultations, or any topics you'd like me to cover, feel free to reach out to me directly, or you can leave a comment below. And look forward to hearing from you. Thanks.
I'm falling with you. I'm standing with you.